We will begin at Tuesday, September 6th, City Council meeting. In approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
Those who don't see her, Nancy is on Zoom. So we are all here and we'll go to our consent for the minutes. Do you have any concerns?
yes, on the first set, which is August 2nd. On page 7, it's the last paragraph. And it says, Risley added, I want to make sure St. Denis will have an evaluation every year, having new council coming on and feels evaluation is top priority instead of elevation. Just in the, which it says there.
Okay, do we have consent?
With the noted changes.
Have a second? Second. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay, with that, we will move to our first item. To the resolution. Oh, I'm sorry, skipped it. Public comment. For those in the house, if there's anybody wishing to make comment or anybody on Zoom, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get to you. Would you like to start? Since you're there?
Sure.
Uh-oh.
We started at 6. I didn't believe a public meeting would start immediately at 6, but you sure did. That's good. I just a little short background. I've been here before with the same complaint. I volunteered to be on the transportation committee. I checked in at the office 3 times and it was always postponed due to COVID. Never got called. And now I find out you've got a 128-page document, which I studied. I just want to represent South Cannon Beach, which seems to always get ignored. And in studying the new plan, they're not adding one additional crosswalk across Hemlock. And I'm speaking for all the people who live east of Hemlock. I'm not one of them, but I see people with children, with wagons, with toys, with chairs, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait to cross Hemlock. And we really need more crosswalks there. People aren't going to walk a block or 2 blocks out of their way, or 4 or 5 blocks to use a crosswalk. And it's dangerous. The other thing I noticed on your it seems like it wants to become a little more bigger and like Portland. Your mobility pods, this spelled tax money going out the door to me, but having bicycles that you can pick up and rent. I would hate to see bicycles careening around downtown Cannon Beach on Labor Day. You know, I won't go there. I won't walk there. I'm short, I get pushed into and knocked aside too often. But, and electric car plug-ins and all the other additions. A neighbor of mine in South Cannon Beach made the comment that we do need more parking on holidays. And you bought an elementary school that has a fairly sizable parking lot. Why not open that? Maybe make it a turnaround for the small Cannon Beach bus. But definitely, I'd like to see more crosswalks. You know, when you come out of the S curves, people hit that straightaway and they think, whoopee. And especially commercial trucks early in the morning exceed the speed limit. The speed limit is not enforced down there. We have a wonderful police force. They respond quickly to problems. Had a drunk driver in the backyard. She couldn't figure out how to get out of his hedge and out of the yard. They were there right away trying to help this or a bruised, deranged woman. And they have a tough job, but they're getting all enough tickets, speeding tickets given on that straight stretch of Hemlock. And that's basically what I want to say, if they could add that, if you as a governing board could add a little paint, put in some crosswalks. Make it safer for people. Okay?
Thank you.
I need your name.
Oh, John Forster.
Thank you, Ms. Foster. Anybody else in the house? Comments? Ready on Zoom? Jordan?
Hi.
Hi, Jordan. Go ahead.
Hey, so is this the time I just wanted to verbalize about the outdoor dining stuff, or should I wait until that part?
Sure, go ahead, do it now.
Sure. Thank you guys for your time. I just wanted to verbally acknowledge our position and hope you guys will allow the continuance of outdoor dining. The COVID pandemic took a lot from us in terms of personal, business, and the entire community. It's affected everybody from loss of work, business, financial stability, and even loss of life. I believe that we will be living with COVID for a long time. We are fortunate to have vaccines, but not everyone can or will receive them. New variants seem to be cropping up every few months, and people are still living on edge, just waiting for a new one to come up and another closure to come. I think outdoor dining has given us an option to many families that are still concerned about COVID. Families that have immunocompromised members. As host of the Driftwood, I'm still seeing it every day. People are still wearing masks to ensure that they don't bring COVID back to their loved ones. And they feel much more comfortable outside. I think you guys have the power to keep this change in effect and to improve upon the hospitality that Cannon Beach offers. And if not for that, I think another aspect is that we can bring in increased revenue for Cannon Beach through the food sales tax. You know, the city shut down for 2 months and we had limited seating in general for months. This is still an opportunity I see for the city, businesses, and workers to recoup losses from the pandemic. And if not recoup losses, then a chance to come out even stronger. That's all I got.
Great, thanks, Jordan. Stay
Thank you.
tuned, we'll be talking about that one.
Oh, I know. Thanks.
Anybody else? Last call. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you. Our first resolution then is 2223. Lori, can I take it? Yes, sir.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors. We have a couple housekeeping budget items tonight. And 2 are very similar in nature, and then another one is because we had a grant come through for us that we were not anticipating. So tonight, resolution number 2223 considers our dump truck that we budgeted in fiscal year ending June 30, 2022. It was ordered, did not arrive until August. So that created a predicament with our budget. Generally accepted accounting principles say that you can only charge the item, whatever service is performed in the on the day that you receive those things. So since we received the truck in August, it has to go into the new budget year where we didn't have a budget for the dump truck. So this fixes that. And so we have dump truck already, and this will just make everything okay with the budget.
You need a motion for this?
Yes, there is a suggested motion.
Be happy to make it. Are there any questions? I move to adopt the resolution 2223 for the purpose of approving increases and decreases to fiscal year 22-23 budget by making an inter-fund transfer of appropriations.
Second. Jennifer?
Counselor Risley?
Yes.
Counselor Ogilvy?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Council President Benefield?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes. Okay. We get past that. And our next resolution. 22-024.
Okay. No, you do it, you're good. Okay, so these next two resolutions that Laura was referring to are related to HRAC. So resolution number 22-24, the purpose of approving changes for the fiscal year 22 to 23 budget by increasing appropriations in the general fund to allow for a specific purpose donation that came from the Friends of Haystack Rock. So in the June meeting, Friends of Haystack Rock had kind of a last minute realization that they didn't make any donations to us that fiscal year and suggested that we update some of our optics that we were planning on pursuing some grants to do. So they gave us $8,000 towards that. And that $8,000 is not included in our budget. So this would be so we can spend that and replace some of our optics.
Good. Questions?
Thank you, Kelly.
Get a motion?
Move to adopt resolution 22-24 for the purpose of approving changes to the fiscal year 22-23 budget by increasing appropriations in the general fund to allow for a specific purpose donation from the Friends of Haystack Rock.
Second.
Jennifer?
Counselor Ogilvy?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Council President Benefield?
Yes.
Counselor Risley?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes. Bend it, Kelly.
Thank you.
Our next item, 22-25.
Okay, this one's going to be similar to the dump truck, the same situation where we set money in the previous fiscal year, but order cannot be accepted until October this year. And so this is to balance out the funds for money that we did not spend on UTV last fiscal year that will be spent this fiscal year. So we can make that work. So this is for approving same thing, increasing the general fund to allow for the capital outlay purchase.
Any questions? Motion?
Move to adopt resolution 22-25 for the purpose of approving changes to the fiscal year 22-23 budget by increasing appropriations in the general fund to allow for a capital outlay for the purchase of a UTV.
Seconded. Jennifer?
Council President Benefield?
Yes.
Counselor Risley?
Yes.
Counselor Ogilvy?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes.
Kelly, how long have we been waiting for this?
So not good. Right at about 13 months now,
13 months.
13 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next item is a proclamation 2210 for National Hispanic Heritage Month. And I believe we have someone here. Jason, Rocio, would you like to come up and say something?
Well, I think maybe you should extend the proclamation first, and then I can address you guys. But either way, whatever's easier.
Want to do it, Jason, when you're ready, or
Sure.
do it?
Number 5.
Thank you.
Pretty good timing, actually.
Very.
Just reading it?
Sure.
Okay. So for the purpose of designated September 15th through October 15th, 2022 as National Hispanic Heritage Month in Cannon Beach, proclamation number 2210. Whereas the period from September 15th through October 15th has been set aside throughout the United States as National Hispanic Heritage Month. And whereas the term Hispanic or Latino refers to a person of Cuban, Mexican, Puerto Rican, South or Central American or other Spanish culture or origin who can be of any race, any ancestry, or any ethnicity. And whereas the United States has always drawn its strength from the contributions of a diverse people, and whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month is a time to recognize the contributions made and the important presence of Hispanic and Latino Americans to the United States. And whereas Hispanic Americans have played a prominent and important role in our national heritage, and our Hispanic American residents lift up our communities and our economy as entrepreneurs, executives, and small business owners. And whereas a significant segment of more than 40,000 people living in Clatsop County are Hispanic. And whereas we honor the rich heritage of our Hispanic community. Be it resolved that I, Sam Stidel, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Cannon Beach in the state of Oregon, do hereby proclaim the month of September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month in Cannon Beach, and call upon public officials, educators, and all residents to observe this month for appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs as they share in the special annual tribute by learning and celebrating the generations of Hispanic and Latino Americans who have positively influenced and enriched our nation and society. Passed by the Common Council of the City of Cannon Beach, the 6th day of September 2022. Okay, the following roll call vote.
At that, shall we have a motion to adopt?
I move to adopt proclamation 2210, declaring September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month in Cannon Beach.
Second,
Jennifer?
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Council President Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Risley,
yes.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Mayor Stidel.
Yes. Thank you. Anything to add, though?
Thank you. I just wanted to commend you for making this proclamation. It means a lot to the community. My name is Rocio Lizarraga Simmons, and I am the chair of El Centro Northwest, which is a new agency that serves the Hispanic community. We just we're a nonprofit, and we were just incorporated in May, so we're very new, but we're really excited to hear. Astoria also today is making this proclamation as well tonight, and we are really excited. We hope our agency wants to focus more on South County, because we feel like a lot of the nonprofits that serve the Hispanic community are more centralized in Astoria. But we really would like to, one of our goals is to be able to have a Hispanic Heritage Celebration in Cannon Beach, do a yearly celebration. I lived in Cannon Beach for many years, from 2000 to about 2010. And so, yeah, Cannon Beach has a special place in my heart, and as well as the community that lives here. And I think it would be really wonderful to be able to collaborate with the city of Cannon Beach and carry out a celebration that will really honor the people that live here and that give so much of their work and talent to make this community even more special.
I hope we can help in your venture. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you. Glad to see you doing that. Thank you for taking the time to come here.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay. Scope of review determination for the Hill of Planning Commission. For Jeff, we can see that.
So Mayor and Council, this is a scope of review determination for the Patrick Dave LLC appeal of the Planning Commission decision to deny a conditional use partition. Yeah. And a little background, City of Cannon Beach Planning Commission rendered a decision to deny the conditional use request for a petition wetland overlay zone by Jamie Lermo on behalf of Patrick Dave LLC at the corner of Forest Lawn South Hemlock Street, tax lot 4100 of map 5130 DA. July 28, 2022, regularly scheduled planning commission meeting. The planning commission findings are attached as exhibit 2. Mr. Lerma requests a review of the decision in an application received August 25th, 2022, within the 14 consecutive calendar appeal period from the date of the final order was signed. The city council is to hold a review meeting to discuss as a non-public hearing item the terms under which it wishes to review the matter according to 1788-160 of the planning Canterbury Municipal Code. City council should use the application request for review under the guidance of 140, 150, and 180 to inform the decision on whether to restrict the review to the record for the planning commission, limited to additional materials that it feels are warranted de novo, or remand the matter to the planning commission for additional consideration. The applicant has requested a hearing on one specific issue regarding the planning commission's findings to CBMC 174350A1, that the applicant's proposed stormwater management method will in effect drain the wetland, provide an exhibit 1. At the public hearing, meeting notice requirements will be held September 19, 2022. And on kind of the notice and everything, I wanted to give a little review of how this all, why everyone has to, or when this happens. Often the 120-day rule gets pretty tight for you guys. And so if you will look at that first green in May, this application was sent to us on, or it was signed on the 25th, but we received it on the 27th. Then it's 120 days would be then, I mean, it's strict reading would be the 22nd that we have to finish this, and that's the safe bet. 24 if you took in those couple extra days. But we held a noticed meeting for the planning commission, their first on June 23rd. Of course, you know, under planning commission and Oregon statutes that anything can be continued automatically if someone requested. And that goes to the next, which is July 28th, which was this next planning commission meeting. And they held their approval of the findings meeting on August 11th. That's when the order was signed. And they get a 14-day window for an appeal period. Like I said, this was appeal was sent in on the 25th, that last date. We then, of course, noticed this for you guys for a scope of review on the 6th. But of course, because of our notice requirements, we have to have 20 days. And so pretty much the closest we could get was the 19th of September for your hearing. That only gives you a few days to come into a decision. But like I said, that's the reason we run up against this, is just to give you a kind of a, show you how that can get stretched out pretty quickly by notice and then appeal periods and things like that.
So essentially that out of your 4 options that we have to decide for process tonight, the 4th one is moved. We can't even consider that one.
Remanding it back. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could, but you have the ability to. I would note that Matt Robinson is on the call, and it's at your discretion if you want to allow the applicant to say anything or anything about the appeal. And I would note of what they've given you, I think, a fairly good summary of what their matter that they speak to is on page, starts at page 9 of their lettered 1 to 10, if you're looking at their.
So the second option is very specific to allowing new evidence only about that one sentence.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think because the so-called draining of the wetland was a key issue that really concerned the applicant, and they had not addressed it the way that satisfied the planning commission, and me as far as that goes. I would be interested in hearing the limited evidence on that single issue in a hearing. I'm afraid if we do if no additional testimony, we are limited with the record. We can probably pull out an understanding of what happens with that runoff drainage. But I'd rather hear a response, because I didn't ever see or read a response directly to that issue by the applicant. Therefore, I think it'd be appropriate to have a hearing limited to that specific point, so that we could then make a better decision when we do make the decision.
I agree with that.
I do as well.
And I do too. In fact, they did have a meeting where they took 15 minutes to talk a little bit about it. And I think it's very important to this whole process.
There we
Yeah,
go.
I'd hate to rely on that 15 minutes, as being complete.
No, I think it just opened up a lot of questions.
Okay, so limited to one item.
To that, the second option, and let me just reiterate, the 19th is the day that we've scheduled, and it's the only topic that night, correct?
I think so.
If I have a question for you, Jeff. So, I'm anticipating being able to make a decision on the 19th. If there's some reason we can't reach a decision, how many days do we have?
Up till the 22nd.
22nd? So no,
Is there any way that if we can't make a decision on the 19th, that the applicant could extend that deadline to agree to extend it?
That's a great point, Nancy. Yes, they can. They can, in writing, extend that if they so choose to do so.
Okay. That's not ours to decide. So, okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you, Jeff, and let me figure out where we're at here.
on the outdoor dining.
Outdoor dining, thank you. Who's leading that one, Jeff?
I'll spin on that one as well. Background on that is on May 3rd, 2022. Council adopted resolution 2215, a limited COVID declaration, which continued the extension of overflow dining allowance granted for restaurants with existing emergency plans until September 5th. Of course, it is now September 6th. Requests have been made to extend these parameters past the established deadline. Currently, the city has 3 restaurants still operating under the emergency operation plans, expanding service areas outdoors, utilizing areas which aren't normally sanctioned for service. The city will have an ample opportunity to review the outdoor dining, commercial parking, and landscape requirements under its code review process over the next year. We will hold workshops with area businesses and citizens to discuss various aspects of outdoor operations, including signage, parking, and dining services as part of the code audit process over this coming off season. And so I just attached the letter, the request from Ms. Beckman from Macola Seafood that we had received. And then just some memos on the emergency parameters and the resolution. Any questions on?
If do we need to have a date certain on which that would cease to be granted, or can we make it until further notice?
Well, I mean, we had it set for to expire on the 5th. And so they've just requested extended. And so I guess it's up to you guys to put it probably would be best for a date certain. But
Yeah, my question is being, since it's an emergency action, we have to have a date certain. Or can we just say until, early on, we made the decision, we say until changed by the council.
yeah,
So I'm just sure if we do an extension that we're doing it properly.
I would always, I think it's always recommended to put a date certain if you're,
I think it would help for everybody just to, for them to know that there's a deadline rather than, I don't know, stumbling forward,
Mhm.
but I have no problem with extending it, because the weather is still gonna hold out for a while. I think that's very determinate by the weather. So in that sense, giving them the opportunity to catch the tourists that are still here, makes. We just have to roll the dice for the date.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, Halloween, something like that, I do it, I don't know.
I'm willing to go longer on it, just because, as you stated in the packet, that we're going to be addressing this through the upcoming code audit, and I feel like if we can extend the declaration, because we don't have a date certain at which time the code audit will take this up and make a decision, that if we could push it safely beyond that, I feel more comfortable rather than just picking a date in the fall. I mean, to your point, Sam, I'm sure people aren't going to be sitting out in the driving rain. But I don't know.
Could
To
have
me,
little
it's
bubbles.
more of an issue. It's like, I'd like to see a resolution to this before we have a date certain that ends it.
I think, to your point, Brandon, this will come up again when we get into late spring. And so people will want to know, can I do it in the late spring? So your timing on it and your date should probably allow for that.
Yeah.
Either to say yes or to say no.
Yeah.
I would hope that we're into the code audit deep enough that we'll have some
have some,
balance there to put that out.
We can also try to accelerate that part of the discussion too.
yeah.
So are you talking March?
I think that's a good time period myself, because we're hoping to have these workshops with the businesses over the winter season, So we would hope to have something back from them in March about what they would like to see. And
Yeah, that sounds great.
If we made it to the end of March, then we could still have time to extend it again based on facts.
which way it goes.
We do have spring vacation though, and I think that goes through April. Is that about right, Kyle? So I'm thinking mid-April. Just because I think it would be a really awful thing to tell them they couldn't do it during that time.
Well, I don't see that happening. He is probably extending it again if it came to it for whatever reason that we aren't able to come up with a decision through the code audit process for whatever reason. I'd be willing to extend it if there's no decision made.
So it looks like it's saying on Google, March 27th through the 31st is spring break for 23.
But we have spring break for colleges and for grade schools and high
Yeah,
schools. and-
exactly.
We have 5 different states that we were working with too, well, 3 or 4 at least, different states, spring vacations.
Yeah,
So always extends it to at least mid-April.
Well, clearly, I think we're going to extend to a date next year, early next year.
Was that enough direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
A date uncertain in the spring.
That'll give us a chance to talk about where we're at in the code audit.
Okay.
And there'll be new information by then.
Is that clear and objective enough for you, Jeff?
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Food pantry repair funding. Bruce?
Yes, sir. We'd had a discussion about repairs to the food pantry. And we said at the time, we thought it would probably be a general fund project. That's some new information. In the beginning of 2021, city was notified we would receive $360,378 from the American Rescue Plan, or the ARP, passed by Congress. Half the funds, approximately $180,000, were expected to be received that May. There was a list of criteria for which the ARP funds could have been used at that time, including water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. On April 27th, 2021, staff requested council consensus to use the funds for the second leg of the Pacific Gorgona Waterline Replacement Project. You did agree to that. The ARP funds were not received in the timeframe they had been anticipated. However, we did have enough room in the budget to cover the second leg of the portion using the existing funds. So eventually, the city received $196,350 in 2021. After receipt of the funds, it was noted that they could now be used as discretionary funds. The funds were deposited and to date have not been used. On August 23rd, the city received the second half of these funds. So we are now at, close to the point of the $360,000. And those funds have not been allocated to a project. And so we're in a better situation than trying to use the general fund, which I know has some of you concerned. So I would say at this point, there is a funding source to do some of this work. And, but as always, there's competition, or you could make other decisions for the use of the funds. Right? Again, we don't think we'll need to use general fund at this point.
I really like the food bank as a recipient for this.
Okay. And Mike, you had sent me an email.
Yeah. One of the last times we discussed citing for the food pantry, right at the end of the meeting, maybe during the good of the order, I don't recall. I'd suggested another option that we hadn't looked at yet, and the staff had not looked at. And that was, once the, first of all, leave the food pantry where it is for now.
Mhm.
And the option would be, once the event center is completed, take a look at, well, even prior to that, but take a look at moving the Tullibana Arts Colony to the new facility, and therefore enabling the food pantry to move to the current location of the Tullibana Arts, and take a look at what can be done on a high level. General view, what would have to be done with the Tullibana Arts to make it acceptable as a food pantry, and also discuss with Tullibana Arts their use of the new event center. And I felt like we didn't have to make a decision right now, but you did, our CETA, we did need a decision, so the decision is made, leave the food pantry where it is for now.
Mhm.
And then continue to look at these other options. But the one we had not looked at was the one I've just described. And I'd like to see something from staff giving us a ballpark figure of what it would take to upgrade the Tullibana Arts facility, if necessary at all. I view that probably needs some storage, but
Sure.
you guys need to take a look at it.
And based on that request, I just did some questions. What kind of information do we have? We do have some high level information, as you said, nothing that's going to be specific costs, like how much to run utilities, that sort of thing. So if council wants, we can bring that to a future workshop.
I'm supportive.
I would too. I'd like to see that.
Again, it'll be high level, it won't be detailed.
Good.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Last item.
Oh, I got a question.
Oh, wait.
I don't think we've come to any resolution
Oh, I'm sorry.
on our,
We did on that one.
I'm sorry, I just counted 3, so I just,
for the Tullibana aspects, but in terms of using these funds,
I'm sorry.
Oh,
where are we at?
well, we still, I think there, well, maybe there's some agreement. Maybe I just read that into the lack of comment to use those funds for any necessary upgrade or repairs on the current food pantry. I don't think I was looking at to make it a permanent facility or relocate it, but merely to take care of the leaks and rot, other repairs to make it viable for another season.
If I can maybe add something that might help. We don't need to have that answer today. What this was a good news that we've got some funding. And so unless you provide us with direction to use these funds for something in particular, then those funds will continue to be available if and when we get to the point that we're moving forward on anything with food pantry.
Well, I was really hoping that CETA would know that we had these funds and they might be able to think about how they'd like to make the building more attractive.
Yeah, and we have a conversation with them tomorrow. And so I will talk to them about that. Say that there is the possibility, but they were going to provide us with some things anyway on the 14th. But I'll let them know that the funding is not the issue it was prior.
I have a question of whether moving back to the previous, are we finished with that one? Moving back to the previous resolution on allowing the extension of the emergency. The current resolution said it sunsets yesterday.
Mhm.
And we talked in general about extending it at some time, but yet we need to make a resolution today to extend it. And we can maybe make that resolution, go ahead and make it April 15th.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
And in the meantime, prior to that sunsetting, we may have better information on whether extended, how we would extend it. And so, but I didn't think we'd finished resolution 2215.
And the April 15th is fine. I think it's a good, safe date. But to achieve that, I would like to have a discussion, probably the February workshop, so that we don't run up against it like we have this time. You'll have several months to be able to go ahead and listen and talk about it among yourselves before we hit that deadline. And I think the more time we can give folks, the better they will do too. So if we can resolve it earlier than that, that's great. We can kind of override it.
To Mike's point, though, do we need a hard written resolution to approve? So what we're telling you now is.
You do, because right now it's moved. We don't have it anymore.
We can bring it back next week. We're gonna have a special meeting as part of the work session, so we can bring it back to you to vote on next week.
Okay.
Good.
And then the people who are still doing it, Jeff has actually spoke with them already.
You're not going to shut them down for the
Talking
week.
about it
right?
tonight.
Okay.
We didn't shut them down,
All right.
but we told them something will be coming along the way.
All right. Thanks.
So, sorry about the speed bump, back to where we were. Which was. The food pantry, so. What we're telling staff is that. We're comfortable with using the funding. So I'm thinking, is everybody comfortable with using the funding for repairs? And servicing the building for the next short foreseeable future?
It's fine with me.
I would like to make it a little bit more formal, that as we look at anything, that we bring it back to council to get direction. So those funds may be available for it, but if there's a new idea or something that want to make sure that we don't submit a bunch of money and then somebody says, well, we could have done this. So that's why I want to make sure that it's your call.
Yeah.
Which is it, the whole project is your call.
Yeah,
I think at some point when a plan is made to do something,
Mhm.
we should see the plan and the budget for that plan.
Sure. So I'd like to see two.
Is that what you did say?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just don't want to, in any more detail, they may find that there are things necessarily worse than they thought, and it's going to cost more than we thought.
Mhm.
Have an opportunity to discuss that.
And we are waiting for an update from something we got a couple of months ago.
Okay, that I think concludes that one. Next item, voting delegate for the League of Oregon Cities annual membership meeting. I intend to go. We'll see if I can get there, but I intend to go. So I've done it before.
The dates, it starts the day after our October meeting. So it's possible to go over on Wednesday and be there towards the beginning.
Yeah, this is the fall governance for the realtors, and it's being held in Seaside. So I'm gonna be here.
You'll get stuck with that one.
We're gonna welcome everyone.
Well, that's great. No, I'm saying, but I remember every time when we talk about the LOC,
Yes.
it conflict with yours.
Yeah, Yeah.
At a certain time.
Oh, I was not planning on attending it. Can we vote on a delegate and not have an alternative?
Okay.
the pressure's on.
It might be, I haven't researched it. What they did for the mayor's thing was they had a Zoom
Yeah.
connection. So if we have to,
They don't.
they don't? Okay.
I checked, Robin asked the same thing and I checked and they said there's no Zoom.
Okay. Interesting.
Is Nancy available? Nancy? are you
No,
available?
I'm not to go. No.
Okay.
Okay. If nobody else goes, then we won't have a vote, but if I'm there, I'll vote. Yes.
Great.
Okay. That concludes our agenda. Do you have any comments for the order? First.
Yes, sir. We talked about tonight, the way that the schedule works when we have something that starts going to the planning commission. And they are advisory, and then ultimately it comes to you. And there are not a lot of, it's not under everybody's control as I would like to see it. For example, when somebody can automatically, anybody can ask for a month extension. Well, that's, takes it down to 90 days, plus there's the time from when we receive things. That starts the 90, we don't meet for a little bit. I'd like it to, at some point, have a council discussion, possibly with the planning commission, to try to set a time frame for them to get a decision to the council. Because if, like in this particular case, because of some of the delays that have come along, you have like 3 days. And it's a 120-day window. So if there's some way to say, you have your meetings and schedule it so that you can get us a meeting by day 55, 65 or something. And what I'm trying to do is to protect the council in that you don't have to make a rush decision. And I think that there are times where somebody might say, okay, well, I'll go ahead and add to the 120 days. But if they don't they get approval? Is that what's come out of it? So I don't know why somebody would say, well, I'll go ahead and give you more time to turn me down, because if we don't get it done in 120 days, they get what they want. So just trying to give you, and I'll tell you, it'll get onto a workshop, but not trying to criticize the planning commission, but there's so many things out of our control, and it's your decision, and your decision will get, go to trial or whatever. And I think you need more than 2 or 3 days.
These, Jeff, these hard timelines, they're state mandate, aren't they?
Not, well, the 120-day is, right? And then there are certain, we are held to certain appeal periods or notice periods, but most of those aren't state driven, except for when we're doing zoning or text amendments or something to our ordinances. But the rest of those are from our ordinances, those time periods, 14 days, 20 days. And, you know, like if they ask for a continuance, we could put that at an earlier date, you know, a special called meeting or something like that. So no, I could draft up that for the work session and give you the exact dates for, you know, what are we helping.
Yeah. That would be, I'm just adding another topic to the code audit kind of idea. When we start looking at those, I guess we're still stuck with that 121 day.
120 we are, yeah.
Yeah, that one, that's the real box that we have to work with him.
Yes, there are some things that we impose that goes ahead and works against us being able to meet that timeline.
Well, and the planning commission did meet extra time to make that work too
Right.
on this, so.
Well, yeah, or the hearing option of the, I'm sorry, the option of the findings, yeah.
Well, something's got to be done. The council's been placed in this bind numerous times. My 8 years here, so.
All right, so
I think that's not something that's unique to Cannon Beach.
I'm sure that it's not.
And the reason this happens is that the planning commission generally needs to take more time because they're generally the deciding body. And you can't necessarily pick and choose the cases that will drag out. And so I think it's just something that we need to make the planning commission aware of. When I guess it would be at the planning director's discretion about when they try and, you know, get them to make a decision without continuing the, but anybody, as you stated, can grant a continuance.
Right.
And once that happens, it adds another at least 30 days to the.
Oh, it does. And I agree with everything that you're saying. It's just that, like in this case, you are the final decider. And you have 3 days. And there's probably things that we can do that, you know, are self-imposed or something. But I just want to make sure that we're protecting both them and the council.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And
it's just a discussion. I mean,
I agree with everything that you've said. It's just that this has happened before.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just sort of, unless they're willing to change the rules, it's a pretty tight timetable.
Yeah, it is. Just trying to see if we can make it.
Just a concern, you know, the planning commission had over 60 days to review and study and hear testimony and so forth. We get 3 days to read 1,000 pages and supposedly come up with a decision. It's
right.
And then if we do, we get challenged by LUBA. They said we didn't do a good job. Thorough, we missed certain points.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole system is needing a revamp and really starting, I think, at state level, but we're in no position to do that.
Right.
So encouraging a more, instead of extending the planning commission meetings, because we've already been at it a long time, I think we need to just stay there, get it done. Instead of just anybody say, oh, we need more time. Well, then it all gets down to the council doesn't have any time. We have two options. Approve the council of the planning commission's decision without same thorough investigation. You say, well, we assume they did a great job, or not come to a decision and the applicant gets what they asked for 90 days ago or 120 days ago.
So I think it's funny. I mean, like Sam said, you really never have the remand option. I mean, it's truly a 100-day window. It just doesn't even allow that anymore.
Yeah.
Even though it's in our code or whatever to remand, you don't have time. So it's just a conversation to see if we can take that kind of pressure off ourselves and still do the job.
Well, on the poor planning commission, one time they were there for 4 hours.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you get brain dead after a while.
Yeah.
So I think they've gone 100%
Mhm.
when they have been asked.
That's all I have.
Anybody else for the order? Sure, there's stuff going on. We got quite a calendar this month. Tomorrow is code audit joint session with the planning commission, so we can bring that up then too. Okay,
I might make a comment in regard to the earlier public comment about more speeding tickets, more parking tickets. And the traffic warnings. Last year was 150, this year's 333 in this month. And traffic citations previous year, or I think it's previous year. 18, this year 83. They are jumping on that issue. And they can always do more, but it has greatly increased. And the number of cases being taken to our municipal court protesting those tickets, whether parking or speeding, has gone up. If I had that figure. Gone up a lot.
It was over, I don't know what it was before, but it was over 80
Yeah.
recently.
just to be fair with Jason, there was a comment made earlier during the public comment phase about getting some more sidewalks down in Tolovana area, Southtown, and keeping an eye on the speeding that was happening after the S curves, once it gets straight. So that area down there.
What was crosswalks?
Crosswalks, not sidewalks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crosswalks.
That's right.
Yeah.
Know what I said? Oh, well,
You said sidewalks.
sorry, but that was a concern. So it came up.
Yeah, no, it's always a good reminder, but we do certainly focus on it and put the radar trailer out there too to remind people to slow down.
One thing too, Jason, it says there were 4 hit and runs. Where were they located?
Throughout the city. different
Okay,
areas, yeah.
I was wondering if they were more towards the Tolovana area.
No, usually downtown and
Just-
parking lots. People
Okay.
will be hitting cars and they.
Wow.
Hit and run doesn't necessarily mean a person is hit, does it?
No, that'd be a vehicle,
Hitting another vehicle.
hitting another vehicle and not noticing or just leaving.
Like we had one emergency when somebody got bumped pretty good. So
Yeah.
that was nasty. Where did you notice the traffic jam on Sunday?
Yes. I received many phone calls. and There was not a darn thing we could do about it. It normally takes me 10 minutes to get home from here, and I was leaving Sunday around 3:30, and it took me 49 minutes to get from here to my house.
Mhm.
And on the way, I received 3 phone calls saying, what is going on in Cannon Beach? And I said, it's going on throughout everywhere because it was traffic going from here all the way through Seaside. Trying to go home early.
Took 20 minutes for one truck to pass the gallery.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I went out and chatted with him for a little while. It was the rain. They all just hit right at once.
Yeah.
Ready to go. Okay, enough of that. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Aloha.
Knock it off, Nancy.
So.
At least she didn't show